Hey kids, do you like robots? Do you like Roman Reigns? Do you find it disturbing that my mouth doesn't match my words? Well, on today's Toy Talking Stuff, we're going to combine Roman Reigns with a robot. Won't that be fun and exciting? Here we go! Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of Toy Talking Stuff. I am your host, GL1, and today our subject is Roman Reigns. And our special guest is a 1995, very much looking like Roman Reigns kind of guy. It is New Zealand actor Kevin Todd Smith as Ares in the television show Xena. So this is a kind of like a deluxe Barbie figure that they have now. You know, he's got the rubber arms and legs. There's muscles in them, and they have kind of that click, a little bit of ratchet movement in them. You know, it's got pretty good articulation in its legs and its head. And he's our special guest today. He even has a ring, and I thought that, you know, being that he looks like Roman Reigns, it might be kind of cool to have him on here. And I thought maybe he might have something that he'd like to add to the show. You know, is there anything you'd like to say, Ares? All right. Well, once again, our special guest does not participate in giving us anything, really. But what we have here is Roman Reigns. So did you know that Roman Reigns had an action figure out as early as 2011? So these are a couple of 2011 action figures and wrestling figures from the WWE. And I got to tell you one thing is I sometimes buy the action figures and I like the head on one versus another, so I change the heads, and I really don't remember which one I did that with. I know this one though. I know that this head went to a basic figure that did not have full articulation, and I put it on one that did. So I wanted to have a Roman Reigns that could be yelling while he's holding up the belt, and so I took that head and I put that on here. So this is, you know, they have the double joints in the knees, and they have the rotation in the ankle, and, you know, sometimes the ankles move, sometimes they barely move at all. This does have a little bit of lateral movement, and it does not have the double elbows, but, you know, sometimes the problem with double elbows, and this is one of the things I'm seeing on the McFarlane figures, and even the new He-Man Revelation figures, is they give them the double joint, but what they do is they cut out part of the biceps so that the arm can come closer. Now, I can't bring my arm any closer to my shoulder than this, okay? The muscle gets in the way. When you have a muscular action figure, you know, just a design idea, it's okay if it doesn't have an elbow joint that goes all the way around and part of the bicep is missing and it touches the shoulder. It's really not even realistic. And then you end up with an action figure where, like, the bicep, you know, instead of being full bodied like mine, it's cut off for that extra movement, and you really don't need that extra movement. So I like the fact that there's, you know, the bicep is fully developed there. The one thing I don't, you know, that I would prefer on the figures too, is if you look at the width of the arm, it's quite narrow. So see, they made them, you know, skinny that way, thick that way, but skinny that way. And then maybe it's so that they can do headlocks and things like that. But because the older figures were more pumped that way, the Jakks Pacific figures, which were also the Rocky figures, if you notice, they actually the Jakks Pacific made those Rocky figures, and those Rocky figure bodies were the same ones, same company that was making WWE back in the probably 2010-ish or before that. Probably like 2008 or something like that. But anyway, those figures are gonna, you know, they're gonna be rounder and less detailed. So the newer figures have more detail that way, but they do have that skinnier arm. So 2011 and then 2013. Now these are still Shield figures where he's wearing his sort of his shield. He was part of a group of 3 guys, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns, and they made up the Shield. And then there was a time in 2015 where I think there's no longer the Shield, but he was still wearing, Roman was continuing to be the bearer of the Shield logo, and he was wearing kind of a t-shirt instead of sort of like a military, flak jacket. And I know he was USA champion for a while during that time. And, you can see that, sort of the hairstyles a little bit changed over time. Not much, a little bit in the, well, let's see. The beard. So this is actually the most recent figure that I got of Roman Reigns, and you see he's got more of a full beard. Now, I didn't like the hands. He didn't have fists. He just had open hands, and I wanted Roman Reigns to have fists. He didn't have any fists in any of these figures. I don't think this. No. And the thing is one of Roman's one of his moves is called the Superman punch, and I wanted him to be able to leap in the air like he does and look like he's giving a Superman punch, like leaping and punching, and so I wanted him to have fists. So I don't remember which figure I took these fists off of, but it was a figure that came with extra fists, and they happened to fit, and I thought they looked pretty cool anyway, so I changed that. That's a 2015 Roman Reigns in full articulation figure. And, the legs, though, I went to go look at the date. The legs are 2011, so they're the same as this outfit here. So you have to be careful about, like if you check the dates on them, sometimes they just use the legs again. But I know I got this figure within the last 2 years. And there he is with the WWE Championship belt. Although now he is the undisputed. He's won both belts from Brock Lesnar. And, so there's a blue belt, which I don't have a blue belt, or at least I have it in a package with something. And then they also released, with one of the Roman Reigns figures I got, Roman Reigns DVD, and it has some of his best matches at the time. Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan, Bray Wyatt, Mark Henry, and then Roman Reigns teamed up with Seth Rollins versus Kane and Daniel Bryan. So if those names mean anything to you, like they do to me, then you might want to have that. In 2016, they made Talking Roman Reigns, and this is going to be, he says, 8 phrases, and this is one of those where you're supposed to be able to point it at another figure and they will interact. It's nowhere near as sophisticated as the Goldberg one, but let's see if we can hear him. It's not that loud. He says he doesn't experience fear and he doesn't back down. And, he has a bout of leukemia periodically, and he continues to wrestle and push the envelope with his body. So maybe that's true. He doesn't experience fear, and he certainly doesn't back down.
You cannot defeat the Roman Empire.
Well, of course, the Roman Empire did fall, and it did have several times in its history where it was defeated, by some kind of definition, but maybe not this Roman Reigns empire.
I don't experience fear, and I don't back down.
Oh, so I guess to get him to say other things is when he's interacting with other figures. But if you thought that this is all I have for you today, no way. Because, a few Roman Reigns action figures, who really cares, right? No. That's not how we do things at Toy Talk and stuff, right? So, last thing though, and this is not the thing I want to show you. This is a set of wrestling figures. I have a bunch more, where you'd buy them in packs, and you could change their legs and make him a flying, like sort of a bat type vampire. You can take off their arms, take off their heads, and they just go right back together, and they're made to just switch out body parts. You take off, their legs, and actually I will do a separate show on that because these are really cool. But so that's the Roman Reigns I made there. But anyway, getting back to what I really want to show you, because, all right, so a few action figures of Roman Reigns, right? Great, that's nice. But what I've done is, well, you might say I've made a mess, but what I did is I had a 1995 Radio Shack Andy the Android robot, and I had a Meccano robot, and I had an inflatable Roman Reigns. Now, all of these had a problem. The Robbie the robot, Andy the Android, was an inflatable robot, and I will show you pictures of all these, okay? I will show you pictures of the toys as they were and as I did what I did with them. So it was inflatable, like, robot, and he sat on top of a platform, and the platform was radio controlled. And that's his controller. I had a Meccano robot. I think it's like the $180 one. I got it used, and it didn't really work. So I have that frame, and I got it just because I was like, well, maybe I'll experiment around with it. And then I got an inflatable Roman Reigns, new for $5. I've seen it online for $22.99. It is definitely not worth $22.99. It comes with a little tube, and you're supposed to puncture it in and then inflate him, and then it stays sort of inflated, and you punch him around, and he deflates, and then you inflate it again. Well, it was hard to get the little tube in there, and it went right through it and ruined it. So rather than let any of these things go to waste, I made Robo Reigns. So these toys. All right, everybody. So what I have made is Robo Reigns. And Robo Reigns is a combination of the Meccano robot and the Andy the Android radio-controlled base here, and inflatable Roman Reigns, which has been filled with pillow material. Now, the robot Robo Reigns is not as heavy as the wrestler, the 265-pound Roman Reigns, so he's only the light heavyweight champion here. So here we go with Robo Reigns. And here we go. So much fun you can have with this. This base is almost 30 years old. It runs on 4D batteries, and this runs on a 9-volt. It did have a little bit of trouble working because after a while, dust gets in things, or buttons start to degrade. There's like plastics in there sometimes, and they don't, or like a kind of a material that will conduct electricity, and it degrades too. So I had to open this up and pour some alcohol in there into the electronics to kind of clear out and dissolve any oils or any plastics that have kind of degraded, and I got it working again. So Robo Reigns, and like I said, this was a used thing that I got really cheap. Meccano robot, so none of that is functioning. But now you have I took 3 broken toys and turned them into something working, because this the tube punctured it and couldn't inflate it anymore. So Roman Reigns, his new moniker that he's going by in the WWE is the head of the table, right? So who wants to be head of the table? There he is, head of the table. He is now head of the table. And so I removed the Meccano robot head, and I removed the rolling feet, and I used self-drilling screws. I reoriented these little tabs. You can unscrew them and reorient them, and and then I just use self-drilling screws to put that into it, and it doesn't hit. There's hardly any, not a lot of electronics in there. And there you go. So, head of the table, Roman Reigns. I will be showing you pictures of before and after of what those toys look like before we turn them into the head of the table. So, thanks for watching, and we'll be seeing you soon. Hope you enjoyed this quick little edition of Toy Talk and Stuff. And this is your host, GL1, signing out. All right.